This tutorial we will deal with the CAD-CALC's user interface, which incidentally is the same user interface as employed in GraphicCalc 2010. So the user interface allows you to manipulate the geometry and the constraints. You're dealing with dimensions and input cells, output cells, and text. And you also have some convenience features which allow you to manipulate the format, units, and style of the geometry and numbers, as well as perform view manipulations such as pan and zoom. So to show you the basic interaction with CAD-CALCs, the geometry is created using the geometry tools which are available in this row, and geometry tools can have flyouts as indicated by the small arrow here. That means there will be multiple tools under the same tool. So to create to do a single operation, you just click the points as indicated by your prompt. Notice when I clicked on the geometry here, a prompt appears here in the prompt area indicating what the tool is. So each tool has got its prompt. So when you're starting with CAD-CALCs, these prompts can help you. But once you get used to it, you don't have to read the prompts. And when you bring the cursor in, notice that the cursor has got a number 1 on it. That means it's prompting you to click the first point to create the center of the circle, and then the second point to create the circle. And then the constraints are given in multiple ways. You can give the constraint when you're creating the geometry. For example, I want to draw a line which is tangent to this circle, or you can infer the constraint automatically also. I'm going to draw a line here and it'll infer the tangent. Or you can give a late constraint. That means you have drawn the line, now you want to make it tangent to this circle. You can click on the line and select the point here and then say tangent to this circle. So there are multiple ways for creating the define the constraints. We will be dealing with all of these in greater details later, but I'm just going to go through them pretty quick right now to give you an overall view of the interaction with CAD-CALCs. Then you can allocate a dimension. You just click on the entity that you want to dimension and click a point where you want the dimension to be located, and you can then open the dimension and move the point around. There's quite a lot of smartness built into the dimensioning system. For example, if I want to dimension this line, it'll snap to the endpoints automatically and give me the dimension. And then I can set an input cell which will control the behavior of a geometry. For example, I want to have a specific radius for this circle. Let's say I set up an input cell and I put as soon as I click on the cell tool and I place the cell, click the point to locate the cell, a formula bar opens here. It's syntactically similar to the formula bars found in spreadsheets. So I entered a value here, and then when I open a geometry and click a point here, it opens what we call a value bar. It is a value values which are the freedom of this geometry here. X and Y are the point coordinates of this point, and R and D are the radius and diameters of the circle. So I can manually allocate a value. For example, if I want the radius to be 15 millimeters, I can press the R key on the keyboard. It'll highlight that R box. You can see you enter the manual value 15 millimeters and press return key, and the circle's radius change. Or I can also control the radius of the circle. Notice as soon as the circle is constrained, there is a horizontal arrow here showing that the circle has got a radius constraint. So I click on this, I open the value bar again, and then I can click on the specific value that I want to control using my input cell. So I click on that box the letter next to the box, then I click on the cell here, and the cell's value now will control this circle's radius. So if I change the value here to 14 millimeter, so that's the input value. It's controlling the behavior of the geometry. And likewise, I can have output cells. For example, I can click on this geometry here and say that this is an area, and then I click on a cell. This time I want an output cell, so I just locate the cell and then click on the geometry. Notice the built-in function got introduced here, and this is the tag for this geometry, and the result is displayed. So this is an output cell, this is an input cell. I could also just extract a value. For example, I can extract the value of the angle of this line by substituting a built-in function here. And this is an output cell, but this output cell can in turn be treated as an input cell also. So for example, if I want to control the angle of this line using this cell's value, so everything is interchangeable. I can, for example, make the length of this line, this is the length constraint, and I double clicked on the point, the direction I want the length to increase. So I click on the L box here, and I click on a dimension here. So this dimension will now control the length of this line. So if, for example, now if I change this to, let's say, 20 millimeter, you'll notice that everything will change. So essentially, these are the way you are manipulating the geometry and the constraints, input cells and the output cells. We'll go into greater details, but this was a summary of the basics. And then of course there's a text tool, so you can put labels and text. I can say area equal to. So now you have a basic function model. So if I just change my condition here, everything is changing automatically. The next thing to note is that the format of the values you have control on. You can have universal control using the format menu, where it's saying it's 3 decimal places, but here's a selected cell here, so I can say 2 decimal places. It will show 2 decimal places here, and later on you can see that this format can be preset so that the default will be always to the decimal places you want. Another way of controlling the format is to just select the entity that you want. For example, this dimension, I want to see it with no decimal places, so I click the right mouse button and set decimals to 0, and you can see the display format has been affected. And unit conversion and checking is fully automatic. You can work with metric units or inch units or unit system of your own. This has been dealt separately in its own section. And then you can also have a control on the style of an entity. For example, you can select the entity and you can say that this is 1 point line or it's dash line, and you can also allocate a color that you choose. And then these cross hatches